From Illinois Public Media News, this is 217 Today. I'm Kimberly Schofield. It's Wednesday, September 11th. Coming up, we'll learn more about climate change and water scarcity in the Midwest and Great Plains. That story in just a few minutes, but first, these headlines. Illinois Governor J.B. Pritzker is praising Kamala Harris's appearance at last night's presidential debate. In a statement issued overnight, Pritzker says Harris, quote, eviscerated Donald Trump, meeting his lies with truth, fear with optimism, and nonsense with real policies to help the American people, end quote. Pritzker was considered to be Harris's running mate before she chose Minnesota Governor Tim Walz. A recent Northwestern medicine study found that states with the most abortion restrictions offer the least amount of support for raising families. Mawa Iqbal has more.
States like Florida and Texas were less likely to have paid family leave and access to affordable childcare, according to researchers. States with more restrictions also had lower enrollment in federal social programs like temporary assistance for needy families. Dr. Nigel Madden says the goal of the study was to show the
hypocrisy between, the fact that a lot of abortion restrictions are predicated on the conception that it's protecting women, children, and families, and kind of highlighting with our results how that is not necessarily the case.
Madden says a lack of support is why many patients will travel to states like Illinois to receive care. Mawa Iqbal.
Over $25 million in new federal money is headed to Illinois to help build out the state's electric vehicle infrastructure. Juan Pablo Ramirez Franco has more.
The awards announced will go towards building more than 3 dozen charging stations along Illinois' highways. 5 are slated for Cook County. Elizabeth Urban is with the Illinois Department of Transportation.
The state has a goal of getting 1 million EVs on the road by 2030. It's an ambitious goal, but we're well on the way to making that a reality.
In the past 5 years, the number of EVs on the road has jumped more than 6-fold, with approximately 111,000 EVs on Illinois' roads today. The funding comes from the Infrastructure Investment and Jobs Act. Juan Pablo Ramirez Franco, WBEZ News.
A new guide aims to help libraries talk about their tangible impact as community anchors with various stakeholders. The regional group Reaching Across Illinois Library System, or RAILS, published a data study titled Illinois Libraries, Agencies of Impact. For example, a comparison to sports attendance shows that 2.5 times more people visit Illinois public libraries each year than attend Illinois collegiate and professional sports events combined. Here's data analyst Jeanette Durecki.
People do visit libraries, and libraries have value as a cost-free destination. They offer free programming to their communities, and there just really aren't a lot of places that you can go to that there's no expectation of spending money, but libraries are one of them.
RAILS published and distributed the booklet to its more than 4,000 member library facilities. We have an update to a story we brought you yesterday morning. A Champaign entertainment producer has pleaded not guilty to 8 counts of trafficking in child pornography. 28-year-old Dante Joseph Scott was arrested Monday by the Illinois State Police. Scott helped manage the Beat Champaign music programs and formerly worked at the Champaign Public Library. In a statement, the City of Champaign's communication manager acknowledged Scott's roles in the city, but would not comment further on the case. Still to come, we'll learn more about climate change and water scarcity in the Midwest and Great Plains. That story is coming up next on 217 Today.
Next time on the 21st show, we're recapping and talking through the debate between Vice President Kamala Harris and former President Donald Trump. We want to hear your reaction. Leave a voicemail at 217-300-2121. That's 217-300-2121. Then join us next time on the 21st show.
You're listening to 217 Today. I'm Kimberly Schofield. The western U.S. has seen decades of disputes over water. Now, climate change could bring more water scarcity to the Midwest and Great Plains. That's left states in the middle of the country wondering if the thirst for water could be headed their way. Harvest Public Media's Kate Grumke reports.
On the ground in St. Louis, you're not always aware of how reliant we are on the huge rivers around us. But from the air, it's obvious. On a flight with the environmental organization Lighthawk, a volunteer pilot traced the final few miles of the Missouri River as it dumps into the Mississippi just north of St. Louis.
Altitude.
Here, these rivers are lined with farms, power plants, and cities full of people drinking the water. Missouri's politicians know this water is precious, and they're preparing to block attempts to take water from the state. Upstream, there are already projects putting metaphorical straws into the waters of the Missouri River. One is the Red River Valley Water Supply Project in North Dakota. Here's how a promotional video lays out its goals.
Reliable water supplies for drinking water and industrial uses in central North Dakota and the Red River Valley can be scarce, especially under drought conditions. Yet, the Missouri River presents an abundant resource.
Construction is already underway on this pipeline that will move Missouri River water. It's expected to be completed in 2032. This water pipeline is contentious. A couple years ago, the state of Missouri sued unsuccessfully to try to block a project that connects to it. Some North Dakotans think lawsuits from downriver states are only going to become more common. Duane DeCray is the general manager of the Garrison Diversion Conservancy District, which is co-leading the Red River project.
I think that water use is going to kind of move from west to east, and the Missouri River is probably the next on the docket for everybody trying to get a piece of it.
DeCray says there's a saying where he lives.
Whiskey's for drinking and water's for fighting.
That's a phrase Doug Cluck is familiar with. He's the Central Region's Climate Services Director for the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration. Cluck says climate change could bring more water scarcity to these parts.
If you want to layer on climate change onto, if you will, man-made challenges, then you're talking about longer periods of drought with more heavy rainfall events kind of stuck in between that don't help as much when it comes to needs.
And Cluck points out some research has shown that the line of aridity, where the drier Great Plains start, might already be moving east. Water fights could move east with that line. While the western U.S. is known for big water struggles, especially in the Colorado River Basin, there are smaller fights already happening in the Midwest. Burt Griggs is a professor of law at Washburn University in Topeka, Kansas. In 2015, he represented Kansas before the Supreme Court in a water case against Nebraska.
The interstate water dispute does have a long and pretty distinguished history.
Griggs says there are fights over rivers and groundwater between neighbors. There are even international water agreements, like on the Great Lakes. And there are tribal nations throughout the Midwest who also have a claim. Doug Krogost is the Water Resources Director for the Standing Rock Sioux Tribe. He's also chairman of the board of the Great Plains Tribal Water Alliance, which includes tribes along the Missouri River.
It's going to be a water war, and we're seeing it right now. A water war within states, and the tribes are pitted in the middle of all of it. And the funny thing about it is the tribes have a bigger water right than the states do.
Krogos points out treaties the tribes struck with the U.S. more than a century ago promised them water. Close observers say climate change is going to bring all of these stakeholders into the courtroom more often. Or, at the very least, it will force a lot more collaboration. For Harvest Public Media, I'm Kate Grumke.
Harvest Public Media is a collaboration of public media newsrooms in the Midwest and Great Plains. And finally, in your forecast, meteorologist Andrew Pritchard says today will be mostly sunny with a high of 86 degrees. That's it for today. 217 Today is produced by Stephanie Mosqueda. Reporting today contributed by Mala Iqbal, Juan Pablo Ramirez Franco, Reginald Hardwick, and Kate Grumke. Music by the Kilbourne Alley Blues Band. Reginald Hardwick is our news director. I'm Kimberly Schofield. 217 Today is a production of Illinois Public Media. Thanks for listening, stay safe, and we'll talk to you again tomorrow.